Alright, Rachel. PG-13. PG-13.
Did someone say R-rated?
No! No! Absolutely not.
Yes.
110% not.
Yes.
We said in character. We got in character.
PG. We're rolling.
I just had Reese have a mini stroke.
Okay, enough of you.
PG. We're rolling.
Okay, hello everyone. You are listening to Moody&D Gone Rogue. I'm your host, Rachel Sanders. Here we discuss gameplay, strategies, and reasoning from the Moody&D cast. This week we are discussing episodes 14 through 16. I will have everyone roll initiative, and in that order they can introduce themselves and actually introduce themselves. I'm speaking to Kent, Reese, and Christian. Prof Mike, you're doing great.
Where did my die go?
Here, you use mine.
It's right behind your
It's
computer.
right here.
Oh. Alright.
Oh, higher than Reese.
Alright.
Oh, 4.
20 to 15.
4.
20 to 15?
Yeah.
17.
Okay, that's number one. 15 to 10.
14.
12.
15, so, okay, and then... Okay, so we're... Okay. So
We
literally-
reversed the order
literally
from
reversed.
last time.
Okay.
That's hilarious.
Mr. Kent.
What's your name? Who do you play?
Yes.
Who,
Thank you.
and what episodes are we discussing?
I said so.
Okay, cool.
14,
I'm bad at
16.
listening.
Yeah, really.
Okay.
The level
In
of
his-
saltiness in this room right
In
now.
his defense,
I am
Reese
salt.
wasn't talking, so he didn't need to listen.
Here's the thing, though. I am so bad at remembering things that are in my immediate past. I once put my wallet in my backpack,
I was here for this.
stood up, and then proceeded to attempt to do it again, having immediately forgotten that I
I was
just
there for
did.
this. I was watching
Oh,
him
that's
like
I
later.
have watched him set things down on his desk and 2 minutes later be like, wait, where did I put that?
Yep.
Like,
All
my
the time.
short-term memory is non-existent.
Mine exists.
I just recently listened to Gone Rogue episode 4.
Oh, no.
And just the moment where Reese where you guys are talking about, but I was talking, just cracked me up.
Oh, yeah, it's always my favorite thing.
Gosh.
I was talking.
I don't care.
Anyways, who are you?
I'm Kent. I
you're
played
not.
Bran.
Stop talking.
What are you doing?
Wow, Reese! Letting out your
Learning
inner
from you
chaos.
as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Tor is a very real element of my personality.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
Tor's not here right now.
I play
What are you
Bran,
talking about?
and that's my Warhammer Tor. Gosh. My first question, what were, like, for Klaus, for Christian,
Hello.
was there, like, how did you plan to reveal yourself and did it go as planned? Like,
I had a different mind picture of it, but it mostly went as planned.
What did you picture? I'm
So
curious.
I pictured the lizard folk of Kaizo, the leadership in Adra, for some reason being by the entrance into the dungeon. And suddenly they just hear the footsteps on the staircase, and then he comes out of the shadow, and he...
Oh, okay.
And I was hoping that Adra would be doing something, and the line that I used, I see you've become quite formidable, little lizard, was kind of the thing that I wanted to say.
Okay, so
I
you got
was-
90% of it.
I got 90% of what I wanted.
Yeah.
I
The only
got,
difference is I just let Prof Mac choose where she was.
Exactly. But I was able to roll with that.
in that moment, I was getting Pretty Little Liars vibes, and like, Allie coming back and be like, I'm back with another word that I'm not gonna say for Reese's sake.
Thank you for not making me edit.
I've never watched Pretty Little Liars.
I've not either.
I would say, haven't
Nope.
seen the show.
Oh.
Okay, so that reference is lost on
Yeah.
everybody except for maybe some of our listeners.
nah, probably not.
They have good taste.
All right. Well,
It's your turn.
I want to be next to Prof Mac. Prof
Hi
Mac
there.
has been nice this whole entire time. I want to be next
Maybe
to her.
it's the
'Cause I'm still half
proximity to you.
I was gonna say, Prof Mac can be mean.
She's never been mean to me, I don't think.
I don't know. Who knows? Hi, guys. My name is Rachel McKelvey, a.k.a. Prof Mac. I play Audra. My question is, wow, for so many. Mostly for Christian.
Everyone has questions for Christian.
But I'm going to save it. So, mine is this one's just a statement. Reese, just know Rashik is my favorite. Rashik is my favorite. However I
Good.
pronounce it.
Good. She
I
was
just-
meant to be.
Re-listening to that interaction, I was like, solid. And I know that I have a little bit of like who she is in my backstory too. And just like
I love Rashik.
Yeah,
chef's kiss.
no, Rashik and Vitoka are actually they're very similar people.
Yeah.
They're actually both druids, both have fairly high wisdom.
That was what I was getting in my brain. I was sitting there in the recording of the last 2 episodes, or the first 2 episodes for Arc 3, being like, why is Vitoka striking my memory? And it's because I was remembering Rashik.
Rashik and Vitoka are very, very similar characters who they are followers of the same deity. They are both druids. One of them is more powerful than the other, but they're both druids. Like, it's fully, they are very similar in a lot of ways. And so, so I appreciate that. Rashik was meant to be very lovable and desirable to be around as a person.
No.
And you achieved that.
You did a great job with that. Also, side note, which if we need to edit out, that's fine. Does the whole temple, I meant to ask you this last game, does the whole temple of Kaizo follow Eidos? It was like, is that something that
yes.
Audra should already be familiar with the name of?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Oh yeah. I mean, here's the
I
thing.
probably should know
Like,
this already. But...
it's so the following of Eidos, it's the leaders for the most part do. Like, it's not like every single one of them is a devout follower of Eidos. The temple is not to Eidos. The temple was to Kazarash.
Yeah.
And originally, the lizard folk congregated in the temple as a collection of Kazarashes, and Kazarash was the center of worship for a while.
Got it.
But eventually, because the yes, you guys know this, Urthej and a couple of the other lizard folk are members of the Blood Hunter Order of the Druidic Templar. View blood magic as an innate property of nature, and see that also as something that is and because of their connection to nature, because of the way they view nature, they have had an intrinsic connection to Eidos. So, yeah.
Awesome.
So, not all of them, a good number of them, though. So.
Alright, cool. Next person, introduce yourself.
My name is Christian Majulski.
Are you making fun of me right now?
No, but yes. And I play Klaus. That was bad. But, Reese, I have a question for you.
Okay.
You knew Klaus was coming back.
Yes.
How did you feel about that when I told you? And knowing you, I'm guessing you were interested, but were you afraid of how things were going to happen, or were you just interested in what was going to happen?
Here's the thing. We've had a lot of conversations like this where we've talked through something difficult is going to happen to or around the party, and one of you guys who has known something that was going to happen has been like, okay, here's where I think it's going to go wrong. Reese, how do you feel about this? And maybe this just has to do with my DM style, but we're all aware there's not really ever a game that I run where there's no in-party fighting.
Yeah.
Like,
We've heard that many times.
Yes.
like, I'm pretty sure we didn't really have a ton of in-party fighting. Actually, we might not have had any in-party fighting episodes 28 and 29 when we recorded them.
Well, because we were busy
'cause
doing
we
other
were-
things.
No, because we
And they
deliberately did not talk to each other.
Right. And so there wasn't like in-party fighting. There was tension, but there wasn't really in-party fighting. And then for the first time, another party that I run, after a year and a half of play, finally played a game where there was no in-party fighting, and that's only because one of them got a form of amnesia. And wouldn't know to object.
Amazing.
So, but there would have been in-party fighting, but like something about the way that I tend to run games leads to high tension. Whether that's because I try to put a strong emphasis on the real life emotional ends of things, or try to actually keep the storytelling very raw, very real. I'm not trying to make you all feel like superheroes. Whether it's that or whether it's something else, I don't know. But I, as a DM, am not afraid of tension at all. Not a concern of mine. I've never been worried about it. I've never been scared of it. Just because, like, literally the first game I ever ran for a party had in-party fighting. That was ground zero. And so, you know...
You can only go up from there.
Right,
The
precisely.
first game I ever ran had a crazy little druid and a doctor and then a paladin, and you all fought like mad.
Yes, we did.
Especially you two.
Lick the Wise, rest in peace.
Oh, yeah.
Rest in pepperoni.
I mean, we didn't fight like crazy. I thought we did pretty good
We
with
we
that.
argued. We didn't fight.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
and Lick the Wise, he wasn't fighting. He was just going about his business, you know?
He was instigating.
I have a funny thing to say. But I'm
Anyways.
not gonna say
Anyway,
it.
continuing. So yeah, no, it didn't freak me out. There was never like there wasn't a planning portion of my brain of like how do I de-escalate. That just like it's never a part of the way I think about games.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. So you didn't really have any thoughts about it?
Nah, I wasn't worried. I was like, here's how class is gonna get introduced. I'm not sure exactly where it'll go, but it'll go somewhere, and I know how to get it there.
Yeah.
You know, like that's. I didn't plan based on various different reactions of Audra's. Everything that happened until like, because I knew that you were going to really be the hook into going into the Underlight, and if y'all had rejected him on that, I wouldn't have. Like, that would have been, okay, Reese is now fully improving the rest of the campaign. But because you were the hook in, and because, you know, you were driven by vengeance and also wanting to make sure that he didn't do anything, you know,
Which he didn't.
right. But because that everything lined up the way that it needed to, and because there was Urthej and Migosk and, you know, everybody who showed up when you started calling for them, I was never worried about it.
Okay, interjecting question here, I know I'm out of order, but what would you have done if Klaus had died in the first episode or been rejected? Like, what would have been, like, the next step kind of thing?
That would depend on where the party wanted to go. If the party was interested in, say they wanted to explore the outer world, I would have created a new version of the campaign exterior of Kaizo. I probably would have had something where because you know, if y'all left and we did a year jump, then Kuza would have been uninterrupted in the Underlight for an extended period of time. You know, like we jumped 5 months to where we are at the end of Arc 2, and like if you guys hadn't come in and done something, he probably would have just continued expanding his control of the Underlight and then redirected his forces up to Kaizo. So what you probably would have run into is a slightly more powerful Kuza coming up with an army into Kaizo, driving you guys out of the temple and forcing you to, like, that would have become the campaign as a survival and then reclaim homeland campaign.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
Alright. Who's next?
I believe it's me.
Who are you?
I'm Reese, I'm the DM.
Slash
Not a humble dungeon master
Slash
anymore.
what?
Tor.
Tor is not a character. Tor is an NPC. There are tons of NPCs. Do you want me to go slash Kuza, slash Tor, slash Vitoka, slash, Migo, slash Rishak, slash, everybody? Okay.
See what I get from him?
We all do.
Audra,
It's okay.
Yes.
I want you to explain everything to me. Give us internal dialogue, subconscious thoughts, things you weren't aware of until afterward. Give me everything.
Oh no.
I mean, you don't want to know everything because I can't say it on a D&D.
Oh no, say it. Let's give Reese a hard time.
This episode is R-rated. Reese gave
No,
me
Yeah.
it's
permission.
not. No,
It's
not.
R-rated. Go for it.
No,
No.
it's not.
He's been sassy this time. Let's give him a hard time
Wow. I think my first thought was just, how did I not see this coming? Like, pure shock.
You really were like we talked about it afterward, and you were like,
Oh my
I was
gosh.
not expecting
It was
that at
hilarious
all."
because I was sitting there, I'd listened through the whole episodes, I'm like, I'd met Christian once. You know,
Yeah.
I came in and heard, I was here for a recording of 12 and 13. I'm like, he is totally bringing class back, NECA. And like, I knew it was happening. Prof Max, like, what? And
But here's the
didn't
deal.
see
Here's
that?
the deal of what I have learned is what the audience doesn't know is behind the scenes. After we wrapped Arc 1, we stayed and talked for like 2
Yes,
more
we did.
hours, just getting history and all of this. And the whole time, Christian was like, "I don't know what I'm gonna do," and he had talked
And
about
he
like
didn't at the time.
he did it, which is fair, but we had even talked through options of like, because you had mentioned maybe having Klaus try and overpower, and you were like, we could do.
And you were there when that failed. Because
Right,
Reese
you
had me
rolled a
roll,
couple.
yeah.
Right, I have it all on like a voice memo because I was recording to get
Yep.
history of stuff. So, and I had taken the break to re-listen to all of that to prep for coming into Arc 2.
Yeah.
And then we left the recording room, and the last thing I heard as I'm walking to my office is Christian talking to Reese and saying, "Oh, I have this really great idea for the character I want to use next."
Who I think
arc."
is still your backup, isn't she?
I don't remember if I already came up with Samira at that point, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
That'll come up.
that was the last thing that I heard walking out. So in my mind, unless I'm like improving, I tend to be more of an internal processor / hate making decisions. So if I say something out loud, I've already made that decision. I know it's going to happen. So I kind of just took it as that's what was happening. So that's why when Kizak showed up, I was like, totally makes sense, because the last thing I heard was Christian had come up with a new character.
Yep.
So it was just not even on my radar at all. And again, knowing that Audra had left the temple to prove things to herself and prove Klaus wrong and like in her mind process Ima's death, which she hadn't, all of a sudden to be confronted with everything.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, this is the moment to prove that I have grown and not kill him right away. But she wanted it to happen. But you know, she...
Yeah, and that's one thing that actually didn't happen the way that I wanted it to happen.
You wanted me to attack you?
I wanted you to attack me.
Yeah.
I mean, I did, but...
Because I had Klaus keep all the golden nuggets for the big reveal in front of everybody. That you hurt me, that you stole from me, that you attacked me. So I wanted that on top of it.
Yeah.
A fresh wound to show. But yeah, sorry, keep going.
No. So, yeah, it just was like this internal struggle and... yeah. I don't know. That was one of those like surreal, because I just was not expecting it at all.
Yeah.
That it was super fun to play, because I felt like really I got to just be in character, and even in the like having to back up and like still be a part but remove herself from the situation was like her but it took everything, and clearly it didn't last because she threw a knife anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. There were just a lot of emotions going on.
Yeah, no, totally.
I was so giddy.
I was like,
You
this
were.
The
guy.
entire time.
He was bouncing in his seat, guys. It was hilarious.
This guy. You all played me. I was so mad. Like, I had messaged, which...
We
My
already
brother has been
talked
talking about
that,
drawing characters for us for a long time. It's never going to happen, but I had even messaged him about the character of Kizak.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, this is what he looks like, and I was excited to have another lizard folk on the campaign. Anyways.
Episode 14 is one of my favorite episodes.
Yep.
Are we on F14 now?
We're still on
Yeah,
14.
we're only
We've
at
been on
14.
14.
Oh, wait, I'm still stuck on 13. Sorry.
It's okay. I don't think it's my time to
no,
ask
it's
a
right,
question
sure.
yet.
It's your turn.
Sweet, Bran. We're gonna change the entire
Oh,
tone
boy.
of the room from goofy
Yes.
to kind of serious.
Okay.
You've been in Temple for a couple months.
5 months.
5 months, couple months, whatever it is. How does this comfort he is feeling relate to Kent's ideal comfort in life and the comfort we have in Christ due to his sacrifice for our salvation?
Ooh. Okay. So, like I mentioned, I guess last episode of Gone Rogue, Bran and Tor are like two very different sides of my personality. Like, Bran is this ordered structure, hates chaos, which is very much so a part of me at times. And then there's Tor, who is just sheer spontaneity and chaos, which is also a part of me. And they come out at different weird times and things. Restate your question, because I want to make sure that I capture all of it.
You've been in Temple for a couple months. How does this comfort that Bran is feeling relate to what Kent's ideal and comfort in life is and the comfort we have in Christ due to his sacrifice for our salvation?
Okay. I think actually that...
It's a poorly worded question.
No,
so-
but I get where you're going. I actually think that Bran's comfort in the temple is a little bit of a false comfort, because we can never really fully be in control, so he feels like he's in control at the temple, but I mean, Klaus showing up proves that he's not.
Yeah.
So I think, and that kind of is a beginning of him, like, struggling with that more and more, because he went from a very chaotic place, came to the temple, felt like he was in control of everything, and then is now no longer in control because there's this purple lizard folk that, like, everybody talks about being a horrible murderer. So I think it kind of just shows that even in Bran's desire for control, like it's a false hope and a false comfort because you
Yep.
can't really get it at the end of the day.
Well, and because you're looking for it in yourself.
Right. Yeah.
You're
exactly.
looking for trying to acquire control via force and via,
Mm-hmm.
sheer will. And that's not going to be fruitful for him in
Right.
the long run, and we're going to see some of that.
And it's well, and that's the other thing, and that's why I love building Bran's character the way he is. It is impossible for him to ever have control because he's literally a warlock of wild magic and a wild magic sorcerer.
Yep.
His life is built around chaos, and so because of that, he cannot ever have control.
Right.
And the temple allowed him to feel like he could, but now he's with these two, and I'm pointing at Audra and
Yes.
Claude. There's no way he will ever have control again in his life, likely, and it's forcing him to have to, come to terms with it.
Yeah,
or do not.
That was going to be my question, using my reaction to butt in.
Oh my
Do you feel like the arc that Bran is on right now is kind of coming to terms with the fact that, as in real life, our lives are not in our control, but rather in the real world, in the supremacy of God,
Right.
in D&D, the supremacy of whatever whim of Reese. Do you feel like that's where he's going, or are you not sure? Do you think that there's maybe like a different path that he might be taking?
Well, you guys, so the audience you will have seen the last episode, and we'll talk about it more when we get there. The last episode of Arc 2. I see Bran in episode 14 starting a slow spiral downward because he can't control everything, and it's very slow, like very, very minimal. And we'll talk about it more and more as it kind of comes up a little bit.
And then in episode 29,
it just culminates into he fully loses control there.
yeah.
So I
Into
think
finding his profession,
right.
internal decorator.
So
Oh,
yeah, that's true. So I think that episode 14 marks the beginning of a spiral in Bran's character arc, and I'm not sure where he's gonna go with it. So it'll be interesting. Reese and I spent 5 hours one night this summer talking about where I wanted Bran to go. So
I was at the camp till 1 a.m. talking with him about this.
yeah,
And then decided to fall off a cliff.
Well,
that was different.
I didn't make a decision to fall off a
The
cliff.
cliff made the decision for him.
True.
There you go.
Anyway.
Anyways, let's move to episode 15.
Top of the initiative order.
Which is me.
Go for it.
Oh right, shoot. I guess. So for Klaus, and share as much as you can. What was Klaus's internal reaction to seeing Bran? Doesn't expect a human. In no way, shape, or form is ready for Bran to be in the room.
My biggest fear going into Arc 2, once I was slowly coming to the decision that I wanted Klaus to come back, was that you were going to play human. And then we come into episode 12, and Bran appears, and you say that he's a human, and I'm like, well, I guess I have to deal with that now. I don't want to share much because Klaus's backstory and history and inner workings are very close to my heart, and unless they are revealed within the series, I don't necessarily want to divulge much.
Yep.
But everything I narrate, most things I narrate, most things I do, always have a purpose.
Usually a good 90% of it.
Yeah. And Klaus's body language is very vivid. It's very out there. Because he's always in control. Except for a couple of moments.
Yep.
Like when he sees a human in a
Like
temple
when-
full of what should be dragonborn.
Yeah, like when he sees a human and he did not have to deal with that for years at this point. So all of it comes flushing back, and at first it was rage, then it was disgust, and then one of the biggest reasons why there was so much tension within me and within Klaus was because I was imagining you touching me the entire time. And it was just the uncomfort and the sheer disgust of it. Like literally, I was in my head thinking and deciding whether I want to Klaus to just walk off and vomit at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how strong his emotions are.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Next.
By the way, I just want to let everybody know that me as a person is not allowed to know anything about Klaus's home continent from Reese. He refuses to tell me anything about Omarcel because I'm not allowed to know.
You guys will get some more information as we continue to dive into things for miniseries, but
Yep.
Sure.
any information regarding Klaus's experience must come from Klaus.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, next question.
That's me. I only had 2, and they're both for Christian, so I'm going to kind of blend them together because
Well.
you probably won't answer the first one.
Also, just a technical rule, you can't use your reaction on your own turn, but
What? What did I do?
you used your reaction to butt in after the question was asked.
Oh, that's true.
Yep. That's funny. What did Kizak hide? Will you tell us?
You want to know?
Yes.
It was a stick of vanilla.
From Klaus?
When Klaus first came into the temple, he was talking to Kizak
Uh-huh.
and
That was so gross.
just gave him a little gift. And he had just stolen something off of some people on Zater, and it was just a stick of vanilla.
Interesting.
And Kizak loved it. He wanted to keep it, and he loved the smell. So when Kizak saw him again, he was like, "Hey, do you have more?" And so
Oh,
wow. Okay.
gosh. Oh,
I'm gonna save it for
Okay.
in game.
You may not be able to ask that question again.
No.
Okay.
Just now that I know this, it's
Okay.
like there's consequences to that.
Don't metagame. Don't metagame.
No, not at
I know.
all. I just am like, oh man.
You want to talk
Stick
you
of
want to
vanilla.
talk about don't metagaming? What you did this summer.
What?
I know what you did
I'm
last
not
summer.
metagaming. I'm in charge of the world.
No. What you did to me last
Yes,
summer.
I know. I'm in charge of the world.
But
Someone's
in the
salty.
moment, when we were fighting the Onkeg, you knew what it was, and I was just curious: is it you Christian knowing what an Onkeg was, or was it you Klaus knowing what an Onkeg was?
Both.
Okay.
Um,
So Klaus has had some experience with
yes.
Onkegs. Okay, cool.
He has, like Reese said in the episode, he has talked to Kuza about them. I don't know if he had actually encountered one.
No.
No. He didn't encounter one. He knew of their existence. That's why Reese let me use a stat block. Because I didn't actually know anything about them. I just knew of their existence.
Got it. Okay. I just was curious because it was one of those, like, the way that it was phrased, it was borderline.
Onkegs are like, they're a very commonly known D&D monster.
Yeah.
And so I knew that either one of them or both of them would recognize Onkeg when I explained it.
Yeah.
I mean, I had just fought an Onkeg like 3 nights before in my other D&D group, so I was
Nice.
like, I know what
Within
this
that
is.
week, I was writing a one-shot, and one of the creatures that I was using
Is an
was an
Onkeg,
Onkeg.
yeah.
They're very, very common.
Yeah. I used him in my family's game, but I just was curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, me?
Alrighty, yes.
For episode 15.
Susan Noah.
Prof Mac.
Yeah.
Why was Adra suspicious of Klaus's and Kizak's interaction?
Why was she suspicious?
Yeah, why was she so suspicious of it?
Because she does not trust Klaus at all. And I think she still sees Kizak as very impressionable. And honestly, again, she thinks she's like this evolved person and has changed. So what she wanted to do was forcefully grab whatever, but she tried to have the conversation. And then I think with Kizak responding so positively towards Klaus, it like sent off all the red flags.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily a positive response. It was just not an inherently negative one.
We'll agree to disagree on that. It was a positive response, but
And in Audra's mind, anything that's not negative
Yeah,
to Klaus
yeah,
is
yeah.
automatically
Well, he was
positive.
just like, what he's done nothing wrong. Like all he's done, like he was pointing out like the good things about Klaus, and for Audra that's like a red flag.
What good things was he pointing out about Klaus?
Or just like,
Well, so here's the thing. What Kizak said was that, and I'm gonna actually quote Kizak because I
You have the quote.
So one of the things that actually has happened a lot in Gone Rogue episodes is, Christian, you've explained how Klaus really hasn't done much in the way of giving people reason to distrust him aside from his mannerisms. Now there's like,
and again, I do not say that is 100% completely true.
Oh, yes.
I don't remember everything, but for the most part.
Well, so there were two things that actually Kent caught one of them. But there was one point in Arc 1 where you tried to hit Audra with a glass bottle.
But missed.
But you missed. And then there was another time in Arc 2 where you also tried to hit Audra. But aside from that, and aside from going with Kuza, you did fight Kuza in all of the fights. You were not fighting on his behalf in any of those. And so, as far as Klaus perceives, he hasn't given Audra a reason to distrust him. And I'm imagining, because you said that, or Kizak said that there wasn't really much of a reason to distrust him. I'm imagining that that Klaus had explained something like that, or rather, maybe that Kizak just assumed it.
So, I'll give you guys a little bit of the back thought of what I had, and this is going really deep into things that we'll never explore. But
I love it.
Basically, what Klaus and Kizak, what their interaction is all about is really, Kizak feels like an outcast within the Temple of Kaizo. He feels like the odd one out. Nobody understands him except for Surak slightly. And Klaus was one of the first people who was just nice to him. He talked to him. He was interested in his inventions, and he gave him something. And for Klaus, it was not necessarily out of selfless reasons.
Right.
He was interested in his inventions.
Right.
He was interested in what Kizak could bring to Klaus's cause.
Yes.
But outwardly, and with Kizak's very low charisma and very low, like, he's very intelligent, he's not very wise, and he's very young. So, yes, he's impressionable.
Yeah.
And Klaus was one of the few people who was actually nice to him. Didn't call him names, didn't destroy his things, was actually interested in it and talked to him about it. So that was the first time when Klaus was in Kaizo, that's what was going on. And then he saw Kizak again, and he just interacted with him a little bit. He did not explain anything. He just approached him the same way.
Yep.
Because he is a master manipulator.
Yeah.
And go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. I have just kind of two quick thoughts on Audra's response of, that's interesting knowing the backstory, but I think even Audra's response was like, the story of that has been disseminated across the temple about Klaus was that Klaus killed Ima. So then for Kizak to not be, which,
Sorry.
it's a whole thing, which is fine.
Yeah.
But also, this is like related, but I just find super interesting that the character of Kizak feels like he's not understood. And part of like how I've played Audra is like she hasn't been fully understood either. And I feel like so often, like you've created this world where like the lizard folk are welcoming and all this kind of stuff, but yet we have these two characters we've created. And I'm like, so often I feel like that is the enemy's tactic to like make us feel alone. And that's what like makes us make these crazy decisions or blame people or blame situations. And so I just find that super interesting that our characters are both living out of that. And it's like, that's probably the number one thing when I talk with students here is they feel so alone, or they feel like no one else experienced this, or I'm not your typical moody student or moody, and it's like, yo, I literally just had 5 meetings yesterday with other students that feel that same way, but nobody talks about it. And that silence is what allows the enemy to kind of pull us aside. And we're even seeing how this silence is like making Audra make these decisions, and like who knows what Kizak is deciding and all that kind of stuff. It was just a side interesting note. I'm like, wow.
Rolling through that into my thing, the quote that I mentioned, Kizak saying to Audra, "You don't treat anybody right." Audra, what was going through your mind when that happened? Like, that can't not hit hard.
Yeah.
After 5 months of Kizak being like, almost like not the replacement for Emma, but like the new, like it was you, Kizak, and Bran were like the group for a little while. And Bran obviously was probably a little less present because you were still functioning like an adult within the place. You were working, you were smithing. But like, Kizak was probably one of the closer individuals at the time. How did that hit? Like, what happened when you heard that?
It hit pretty hard, but also I think was kind of one of those, because I think she just kind of brushes it off in the moment. It's like, yeah, that's right, whatever. But part of the journey and internal dialogue that Audra has been going through, which kind of happens a little bit in 28 and 29, is this idea that she is broken and not enough. And like hearing Kizak say that was just like confirmation of like, you've probably seen a more open side of Audra than like the rest of the temple has in a minute. And like, just to kind of throw that in her face was like, oh, yep, okay, cool.
Yeah, and Kizak is very much just a teenager, so he got heated. He said things he maybe shouldn't have said, but also he doesn't necessarily. He sees you as the closest person in the temple. That doesn't necessarily mean you're friends.
Yeah.
In his mind, at least.
Yeah.
And he is a very just thinking kind of person.
Yeah.
Not a feeling kind of person.
Yeah, totally.
So when his emotions come in, they burst.
Yeah.
I'm going to use my turn to move to 16 just to make sure we have plenty of time for dialogue for the next one. So I'm just going to go first. Bran, how does it feel to be at the fragile age of 33 and almost be the weak link of the group?
Oh, I remember when that
wise
happened.
old man of the group.
I remember when that happened, just being like,
that's still like a 15 joke because that happened in episode 15.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
So it's both.
in 16 we see a little bit more.
I remember when that
repercussion.
happened. It was so funny because
Prof.
I just was like, wait a second, he's 8 years older. This is weird. And then, like, after recording, the three of us, Christian, Reese, and I just would not stop making jokes about it. And Prof. Matt got so mad, and it was
Please let me
so
graduate today.
And we absolutely loved it. It's one of my favorite inside
It's
jokes.
still the running gag.
It, like, in our group chat, it is still a consistent,
Yes!
like, we to confirm a recording date for something
We
had
had to change it.
We had to change something.
And I said, all in favor, please say Bran has one foot in the grave.
Bran has one foot in the grave, and we all, all of us are responding, and Prof. Mac had, like, some long diatribe about it. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking up.
It was amazing.
Bran is a thriving young man who has his best years ahead of him.
And we basically just said that it's the delusion slowly setting in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add a little grandma emoji next to your contact.
Oh my gosh.
But the
It
funniest
was
thing
so
is,
bad.
Bran basically went from being Christian to being Prof. Mac.
It's true. It's true. In age, he did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the funny thing too is, so this was happening in like January, right? And I turned 33 in March. So it was one of those where it's like, I'm literally approaching this age. And it's old? What?
Get 12
so
years on
true.
me, so.
Yeah. Oh, trust me. I have a sibling that's 19 years younger than me. So
It's okay.
I get called old all
You're
the time.
younger than my sister, so.
There we go.
Yeah, it was amazing. And, like, it's one of those things with the Wild Magic Table of just being like, where did this come from? You know?
Yep.
It was hilarious.
I really hope that sometime later in all the arcs, Bran will get it to the same table, but then get 8 years younger, become 8 years younger.
7
that
or
would be
9.
hilarious.
So it has to be an odd number.
It'd be
yeah,
7
I know.
or 9, but-
We looked at the odds. The odds
Yep.
are not in our favor.
Oh,
We have-
no, because let's see, it's a 1 in 400 chance that you get the same number, and then it is a 1 in 10, or it's a 1 in 2 chance, so it's a 50-50 chance that he even de-ages. So the odds of that happening are so
Very
incredibly low.
But the fact that it was 8 years
was
to make exactly
hilarious.
33. And now I'm 33. But I actually was super looking forward to turning 33. So I was like, this is my Jesus year. Like, I'm so pumped.
Oh my.
And
then we just
then
ruined
it was just like this
And
running
it was-
gag about how old.
ruined by a bunch of kids.
Oh, that was.
I
Oh gosh, Prof. We
my gosh.
like.
And the joke is still running.
It's
It is
Yeah.
still.
I wanted to be a
still
part of it.
running.
It's still running.
I mean, what? It took us maybe a minute to make the 1 foot in the grave joke. Like it was like right after combat.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
it was
100%.
immediately.
Well, that's one of those where it's like, Audra, 100% thinks it's hilarious, and he's
Oh, yeah.
super old. Rachel,
Thinks
it's
it's
like-
real bad.
no, we're going to stand our ground. So it's even funny listening back to the episodes of like,
Oh, yeah.
seeing where Rachel just has to peek through and like make
Yes,
a
with
comment.
your brand, you look distinguished.
That was one of those.
aged like fine wine.
That moment was one of those where like Rachel peeked through, and then I was like, "That is so weird for Audra to say," and I was like, "Do I acknowledge it? Do I not?" This was like the internal dialogue,
then you did.
and then I did, and I was like, "I should have just left it alone." Oh well.
So
Oh,
funny.
my word.
Beautiful.
That was
Hilarious.
amazing.
Alrighty, we're gonna take that and go back to the beginning.
Oh gosh. Okay. Honestly, I don't have one for 16 because it.
I'm gonna be asking questions for 15 as well. So
Okay,
Well,
who's
I
asking
don't-
questions for 16?
I have a question for 16.
Okay, we'll
I
just-
want
We'll just skip you two. We'll go Prof Mac and Reese.
Yeah, that's.
Oh
totally
no,
fine.
I do
There you
have
go.
a question for Reese though, and it's
Okay.
not necessarily.
Okay, we'll do
15,
Prof Mac,
but-
Christian, then Reese.
Yeah.
That
Great.
works.
Okay, I'll ask mine in kind of two parts because
Okay.
they're related. I was just curious, like for Christian, what is going through Klaus's mind, being in a tunnel with some like people who hate him, one who like had a direct relation. Brand just kind of is like hate by association, but yet you also hate Brand. Like the dynamic is so interesting. So I'm like curious of like what is going through Klaus's mind in this moment. But then also, can I just say, knowing what we find out about what Klaus did in the Underlight, the like mastery with which you evaded Audra's
Oh, yeah.
questions was
Oh my
beautiful.
gosh, it was
like
amazing.
knowing the other side now, it was so good. And so I just was wondering, like, in that moment, what is Klaus thinking? Like, because I don't know, I just like the fact that you chose to give nothing of, you know, something happened. Like, I feel like it could have been a moment for you to maybe like twist the narrative a little bit, but you didn't. You gave no hints.
Klaus was very aware of the things he'd done,
Yeah.
and maybe didn't necessarily 100% think through how you would react, but your animosity towards him was a given, and in my mind, there was not much more than I could add to that. The first question with the dynamic between the three of us, I was happy to explore Bran as a human. I was also, at least in that tunnel, if Bran was to cross Klaus in any sort of way, I would totally try to slit his throat when he was sleeping.
Right. There we go.
Got rated R.
That's just
Oh, that's amazing.
given Klaus and his history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very Klaus thing to do.
Yeah.
And when it comes to all the things that he did when he was with Kuza, they were just justified in his mind.
Yeah.
He was trying to survive. He was trying to be the more powerful person. Even right now, one of the biggest struggles in Klaus's mind after the conclusion of Arc 2 is he sees Kuza's point. He does not think that Kuza is wrong. There is a law that says that Kuza, if he is more powerful than everybody else, he gets to be the king. And that is the whole dynamic of Klaus. So that's why that internal conflict was so there, because it was between, do I hate him more or do I value my life more? And it just culminated in kind of sort of a little bit of a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's honestly it.
But I guess like my question is like the emotions of Klaus and Audra trying to get information on what are we about to walk into, and just giving nothing. Like, what was the internal? Were there emotions, or Klaus was just like, I mean, she's gonna find out when we get there.
Yeah, Klaus very much intended to find the people of the Tuzarek tribe because he knew he needed their help. He was confident enough that having you there and with his silver tongue, he would be able to silver tongue, pun not intended, because that's also a bard ability, just so that you know. He knew that he would be able to at least escape with his life, if not gain their trust, and he sort of accomplished that. So, and also, he doesn't pay mind to Adra. The things that she says and does are just whatever.
Nice.
So there's no emotions there. So in episode 15, after we're done with talking about Klaus and all the reveal, we talk about like, oh, I was so giddy, and you say that you were super giddy.
Oh, yeah.
And then you say that we have not gotten to the part that you were so giddy about.
Oh, yeah.
What was it?
Oh, there were a lot of things that I was giddy about. It didn't come in episode 16. I know that. Here's again,
was it the underlight or what was it?
I think it was the underlight reveal. I can't remember. So, like I said, my working memory is really, really, really bad. It's so bad, like
This is true.
astronomically horrible, to the point where like I put this back here and forgot where it was entirely.
He's talking about the D20 that was behind his laptop.
Yeah, I put my D20 that I rolled for initiative behind my laptop and completely forgot where it was.
I was looking
Like,
under the table.
Right, like didn't even
If you don't
remember
see
that
it doesn't exist.
Right, precisely.
Yeah.
And so, like, when I rewatch episodes, my narrations are new to me again. Now, my brain will say, okay, and then I'll pre-DM things, and then I'll say the thing that I was thinking. I'll be like, okay, cool, I still know what I was doing. And my brain's still working the same way, but it's always new to me. So I think it was the underlight reveal. And I think a lot of that came from just the fact that, like, there's the Underdark, and everybody knows about the Underdark, and the Underdark is a big thing. But we don't really ever see anything alternative to the Underdark.
That was going to be the continuation of my question.
And
Yeah.
what was it?
The question about, I love the Underlight. I love the idea of the Underlight because it's kind of the contrast to the Underdark. I know,
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah, so the Underlight is meant to be a contrast to the Underdark. There is life. There is actual people. And it's not just a bunch of drow.
It's not just a bunch of edgelords.
Right. And so it's people who actually live there, who have farming societies and have light from some time of the day. And it's an actual place. Whereas, the Underdark is just gloomy and a massive series of tunnels underground, and like it does exist in my world, but the Underlight is cooler, I think. So, yeah.
Okay, next question, and for time's sake, 10 minutes, because I also have to go to TA hours.
Yeah, we all have
Okay.
things.
Yeah,
that
we
we
got this, Theo.
So
Shout out to Prof.
let's see. What do I want to talk about?
So many options. Oh no.
Okay, so Tor and semantics. Just the amount that I am going to keep coming back to Tor, but really my big question is for you, Kent. With the way that Tor behaves, like you knew that he was going to be the embodiment of chaos.
Yeah.
What were the expectations going into that? Because like you knew that some things were going to be very chaotic. Was it like you expected? What did you expect? Like where do we stand on that? Because I personally love the way Tor ended up. I think you do too.
Oh, yeah.
But
Everybody does.
We didn't really talk through the way he worked.
No, I think it was...
I just sort of made a call in the moment.
Yeah,
Like,
I think the...
also, another thing. Tor's personality didn't exist until I started talking. His voice didn't exist
Love
until
it.
Tor was...
We figured.
Tor was formed out of chaos, both, like, in the fiction and in the narrative, and literally in the
real
moment.
life.
Oh, yeah,
Formed
totally.
out of chaos.
I think it worked out super, super well. I honestly don't know what I was expecting, because I think Tor became the expectation after he existed, kind of, it was very much so I expected Reese to bring as much chaos as Reese possibly could, and you did. Especially when you started making me do charisma saves to put him into
Yes.
the interdimensional
Yeah.
space, which I have not failed a single one yet.
Well, the DC is 10.
Yeah.
He's your hammer, you're attuned to him. He's a sentient weapon. He's not, like, he is a cosmic level being, but he's... So you
I can
you have-
barely save that.
you
Or
have
fail that, I should
you
say.
have to roll like a nat 1 or a nat 2 to fail. Because you failed once.
Did I fail once?
I think you failed once.
Okay.
But
yeah.
like
I did,
the
I
odds of you
remember that.
failing are so incredibly low.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, I think the expectation was essentially what Tor became.
okay.
Nearly. Yeah. No, he is.
His
just
expectation
sheer
did not
chaos.
predate his existence.
Yeah, pretty much. I wasn't quite sure what to expect just because Tor is Tor kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, I think. Yeah, no, I really do like Tor though. He's a fun character. I'm gonna try and bring him out more in Arc 3 just to like have him be more of a character that's around a little bit more because he's fun and is sheer chaos. Kent loves Tor a ton. Bran
And he
hates
has
it.
to become friends with Klaus.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens, but maybe you'll get
But didn't he already say he liked him?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
But I mean, you guys don't get to talk to him unless you're touching him. So
Yeah.
the only way you're getting to know Tor is if I throw him at you.
Come at me, bro.
Sweet.
Okay.
Okay, on that note, I'm going to finish the episode. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Moody&D Gone Rogue. You can listen to the rest of the Moody&D network on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Feel free to follow us on Instagram with the @ Moody_in_D. Feel free to DM us with your questions. And once again, I'm your host, Rachel Sanders. See y'all next time.
You didn't mess up.
Good
And I didn't look at it!
Hey!